distortion measurement. Okay. Set log lin to log. Logarithm. Okay. And now this is basically nulling the distortion meter. This is really what this is doing. It says adjust A3's R62 and R63, which is tune offset and balance offset for minimum display and noise on the oscilloscope. So let's turn the volts per division up on there, just adjust the brightness so it makes it easiest for you to see. I think that's probably easiest for you. It seems to saturate the screen if you have it too brightly, it overloads the camera. Okay, I'm having to use a torch. It's actually very dark in here, it shows up quite well on the camera by the looks of it. And so we're on the orange one, we're adjusting these two, there's only two pots, and we want minimum. It's easier to look on the meter, to be honest with you, but now I'm adjusting for minimum noise. You see that increases it, so we want that as low as possible. Try and get those spikes and things out. 95.6. Funny enough, the more this has been used, this meter, the quieter it's getting. So it's 95.6. I don't think you get it any lower than that. This is the second pot. No, that's 95.6. Oh, look at that, 96. That's really. And it says you want something better than -86. Well, I'm miles better than that. Okay, so that's the notch filter tuning. It's actually quite. The initial first page was the most complicated one. This is all relatively easy. Okay, next one is the voltmeter adjustment. It says on the analyzer key in 41.0 special, and it's the high output and the high input are connected together, and you're looking at that on a scope now, on a meter. So let's plug that back into the meter, which we have. Now, don't worry about the scope now. It's just picking up stuff that we're not interested at the moment. So okay, key in 41.0 special to initialize the instrument. Key in 1.11 special, 1.11 special. Got stuff going on all over the page. I don't know what this is all about. What's going on here? Why is this jumping around so much? Picking up external noise from the meter. Let's disconnect the scope mo. I haven't actually programmed any frequency at the moment, so that's probably why it's jumping around. So key in 1.11 special, 1.11 special, I think I've already done that. And it says key in 3.1 special. And that sets the post notch amplifier to 0 dB. Key in 49.3 special, 49.3 special, to read our output RMS or average. Detect the voltage average voltage directly, it says. Set the input and output switches both to ground, they are. Set amplitude to 3 volts, amplitude 3 volts. And then it says connect the instrument. The equipment output is shown in figure 5.5, so basically high output to high input. And then okay, and looking at the output you can see 2.9 volts there, 2.98. It says set the voltmeter to read DC volts. Okay, DC volts. Well, okay, then he wants me to first check the output of the test point. It's not very well drawn. It actually shows it as it wants you to connect it to both places, but it doesn't tell you which one to do first. So meters on DC volts. Come on. and it says connect that to A4's test point 1, and that's right over here. A4 test point 1, DC volts, and it says, I'm going to run through this procedure just one more time. On the key 41.0 special, don't need that. Initialize the instrument. 1.11 special. 3.1 special. And key, yes, key in 49.3 special. I've done that. 49.3 special. Set the input output switch and set the amplitude to the 3 volts. Set amplitude, yeah, that's set to 3 volts. Connect the equipment up and look at test point 1. The voltmeter, set the voltmeter DC volts. Adjust AR 125 DC cal for a reading on the right display on the audio analyzer, the same as the reading on the voltmeter on within 0.5 volts. 2.983, 2.982. So don't think you're going to get any closer than that. I'm not going to bother adjusting that. And turn over a page. Connect the voltmeter to the high input of the audio analyzer. Connect the voltmeter to the high input. That's interesting. Doesn't make sense. I understand the high output, but not the high input. Okay, we'll do what it says. Get the voltmeter to the high input of the audio analyzer. I don't know what this is going to do. Okay. Set the voltage to read AC volts. On the audio analyzer and set the measurement mode to AC level. It is. Adjust AR91 AC scaling to read for a reading on the right display of the audio analyzer, the same as the reading on the voltmeter, plus or minus 1 volts. That can't be right. That can't be right, can it? Because that, it must mean more audio. Connect the voltmeter to the high input of the audio analyzer. It must mean the high output. Got 1 volt. I've got 1 millivolt here. Okay, something's gone wrong here. I don't understand that. Oh, I still need the high and the... Oh, hold on a minute. I think you're supposed to keep these still two joined. This isn't very clear, this part of the setup procedure. Disconnect those, leave those loop bits, because there's no point looking at the input. There won't be any voltage on the input anyway. High input, high output. Join together and look at the with the meter. Let's try this with the meter. I think that's probably what it actually means. So now just put that in on the connections. One goes there. there. And then this goes get rid of that long lead to keep the noise level down. Error 10. Okay. What's error 10 mean? Reading too high for range, so I'm going to rerun this through again. I think it's just crashed it because I've been plugging things in and out all over the place. 41.0 special, 1.11 special, 3.1 special, 49.3 special, amplitude 3 volts, okay, we're getting somewhere. Connect the equipment up, set the voltmeter to read DC volts, adjust AR125 DC cal, so the looking at that's on the internal one, we've done that. Set the voltmeter to read, so the right display on the audio is the same reading as the voltmeters within half a millivolt. We've just done that. And it says connect the voltmeter to the high input, so basically connect it into the loop, that's what it means. And it says adjust A4's R91 AC scaling for the reading on the right display of the audio analyzer, the same reading as the AC voltmeter. So we're on AC volts, 2.981, 2.982. Good, okay. Well, that's really badly written actually, and that's really thrown me off. Sorry about that. It's a bit of messing about trying to get that sorted out. But that's reading correctly within, well, less than a millivolt, so that's absolutely fine. It does actually say within half a millivolt, so we'll try and get it in a bit closer. So it's R91 on the yellow board, R91, which was the AC scale, which is, I think, remembers the green pot. Yeah, there's AC scale. So let's see if we can get those two the same. There you go. So that's set. That's good. On the audio analyzer, set amplitude to 150 millivolts. So it's amplitude 150 millivolts. Adjust A4R85, so A485, which is the AC offset. This pot here. So set your analyzer to amplitude 150 millivolts. Adjust R85 AC offset for reading on the right display of the audio analyzer, the same as the AC meter reading. So minus half a millivolt. So we've got 14.92. We've got 14.93. This seems to be like a binary pot, this, I don't know why, but that's the closest you're going to get it. That's fine. So that's absolutely fine. And then it goes on to say if you can't get this setting right, change various parts, but obviously that's not a problem. The next test is the Synad meter adjustment, and I think you need, it's a bit more complicated. The Synad meter is a mechanically zeroed, yes. Next, the signal with a known amount of distortion is created artificially by summing the output of the audio analyzer with the output of another source. But I can't do that because I have no idea what the distortion. I think it's about 0.5% from the Philips, but I'm not going to be able to do that because I haven't really got the equipment to achieve that. So I'm going to assume, as most of it was pretty close anyway, I'm going to assume that the Synad calibration is pretty good. So we're moving on to the last page now, so it won't be long now. It should be finished. Okay, so the next procedure is as follows. On the audio analyzer 41.0 special, set the input and output switches to ground. They are. Connect the DC voltmeter to test point. I'm going to disconnect all the equipment from the back because it doesn't show any equipment connected, just in case it makes a difference. And it says connect a DC voltmeter. What are we looking at? Connect a DC voltmeter to A6 board test point 5. So here's connect the voltmeter to test point 5. Test point 5 on. Board 6. Test point 5, so that's amp 2, which is correct. DC volts